Hi, I'm Mark Duxbury. Softly is a weekly reading. Today, the night after Christmas. The world had lain down to exhale, and now it was still. Still as the crumbs on the plate, still as the crumpled foil wrappers glinting on the arm of the sofa. Still, except for time, which doesn't stop. Outside, frost glittered like some unseen hand had thrown a scattering of sequins. Careless, deliberate. The kind of thing she'd notice. She who always noticed the things no one else did. Said, "Look, it's as if the sky has dropped its earrings." She wasn't here, though, not tonight. Instead, there were leftovers, clinging to the edges of a day, a laugh, the faint sound of a half-forgotten carol, the smell of pine needles, sharp and resinous, mingling with the candle wax and the odour of mulled wine. He sat and thought about nothing and everything, which is how it always was on nights like these. Nights when it's over but not yet gone. The kind of night that feels like the ache in your muscles the day after you've carried something very heavy. A tree, maybe, or your past. The news was still running in the other room. Talking heads, crackling urgency. He couldn't hear it clearly, didn't need to. The world was always ending, wasn't it? And beginning again too, I suppose. He turned off the lights, but left the tree lit. The strands of coloured bulbs blinked on and off, indifferent to his mood. On, off, on, off, like they were trying to say something but couldn't quite find the words. The streets were quieter than they should have been, except for the fox. It darted across the garden, its coat catching the moonlight. A flash of red, a streak of life. He remembered her again. She'd once said, foxes were the tricksters of the city, the scavengers, but also its poets. They find things the rest of us miss. They make something out of nothing. He thought, now, isn't that what we're all doing? And what we've all been doing, making something out of nothing, out of our hopes, out of our longing, out of baubles and tinsel and songs we've been singing since we were small, out of light, even when the nights go on forever. When the clock struck midnight, it was no longer Christmas, but the tree still glowed. The fox was still running, unseen. The sequins of frost sparkled, unbothered. The house still stood. Time didn't stop, but it had paused for a second as if to say, "Look, just look." He did. She had a way of noticing it wasn't just the foxes or the frost or the earrings made of light. It was how she noticed you noticing things too. How her gaze would tilt to catch you sideways and she'd say something unexpected like, "What do you think the sky does when no one's looking?" Or, "Why do lights only blink when they think they're alone?" She used to write things down, scraps of ideas, observations. The notebook she carried was worn at the edges, the cover soft like old velvet. He had once teased her about it. "Why don't you just write on your phone like everyone else?" And she laughed and said, "Because a phone doesn't smell like paper or coffee spills, and it can't hold a memory in the same way." It had a drawing of a fox in it, a half-finished sketch in pencil, faint and tentative. She said it wasn't very good, but he thought otherwise. He always did. The fox was clever and shy, eyes darting towards the margins of the page like it wanted to escape the notebook entirely. It was alive in a way that her other sketches weren't. That fox. He thought about it now as he sat on the sofa, the blinking tree casting red, green, blue across his skin. He hadn't thought about the sketch in years, hadn't even remembered where it might have gone. Now, as the memory of her opened like a door left ajar, the fox padded back into his mind, sleek and vivid. The real fox had been there for days now. He wasn't sure why. Not that foxes ever explain themselves, of course. This one didn't loiter or make trouble. Not really. It just appeared. A blur on the edge of things. The garden fence, the empty street, the shape of a dream you can't quite hold on to. He had seen it the first time on Christmas Eve, scavenging something small from the snow. A crust of bread? A forgotten bone? He wasn't sure. Then again tonight, the flash of red and white, its brush of a tail trailing the dark like punctuation at the end of a sentence he hadn't yet read. When he saw it tonight, he thought of her again. He thought about the way she talked about foxes, not as pests, but as puzzle pieces in the city's machinery. "They live where we live," she said. "They find the corners we don't. They understand how to survive." That had been her way too, finding corners, surviving. Then, at last, on one sad day, not.